Thanks for staying with us. So yesterday, the Inspector General of Police ordered strict enforcement of the national curfew and interstate movement restriction order placed by the federal government as part of measures to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, joining us on the show is the President's Nigerian Union of Journalists, Mr. Chris Isiguzo. Now, the reason why we're bringing him on is because we were told yesterday a few journalists were arrested. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Good morning.
Yes. So when you heard the news yesterday about some of your journalists being arrested by the police because, according to them, they were flouting the curfew, what are your thoughts? What happened? What came to mind when you saw this report?
Anyway, I was surprised that such could happen because I'm very much aware that the president, during his broadcast, and that was also clarified again by Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, those on essential services were allowed to go ahead and do their jobs. They were excluded from the restrictions, from the directives, from the lockdown and what have you. So I was actually surprised because I didn't believe that the police could have given a contrary directive. But when I found out that that was what was playing out, we actually had to reach out to the authorities with support from other stakeholders. The police had to rescind that decision because we know that you cannot restrict our right to freedom of movement. Even in a war situation, we are allowed to operate. The media, the medical personnel, they are allowed to operate because their services are of essential status. So you don't begin to shut them out and down from the system.
Right.
So that's it. We intervened and that was rescinded. I believe that we'll put that behind us.
Yeah, so I heard that there were about 50 of them that were arrested. Aside from the journalists involved, we had the medical doctors, nurses who were just going home from their night, morning, afternoon duties. So was there a reassurance that this arrest will not happen, or is the police still adamant that the essential services or non-essential services must obey the curfew?
Well, they have already issued a statement, that's from the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Frank Mba, the first public relations officer, already issued a statement which was a clear directive from the Inspector General of Police, where they are now exempted those on essential services. Okay. I know that police, they have a very clear channel of communication from the Inspector General of Police through the first public relations officer. It goes to the various zonal commands and state commands, and from there it trickles down to those at lower radar. Well, I believe that with that decision, this is not going to repeat itself. Okay. I believe so, because what the police out there actually did was in compliance with purported directive from the IG's office. Right. But that directive has also changed, and I believe they will also comply.
Thank you so much, sir. We wanted just to get your own views on this. We're going to try to, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be speaking with the President, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Mr. Chris Isiguzo. Before we bring in Frank Mba back, or I think we wanted to also get one more person from the Nigerian Medical Association, the president of Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Francis Faduyile, just to hear his thoughts on this. But I'm happy, according to Mr. Isiguzo, that they've rescinded this decision. That's what I wanted to discuss with Mr. Frank Mba. But in the meantime, we'll try to get in Dr. Francis Faduyile on the line, just to hear his own thoughts. Because the truth is that the medical services are essential services. Yeah. And they obviously have the night shift and the day shift. So it's possible those in the day shifts close a bit late.
And apart from that, doctors are on 24-hour call, so you can be called any time. 2 a.m. you're sleeping and they ask you and you're on the road. So
when the Inspector General was adamant that nobody should be exempted, should they have been able to alter or find a way to understand, or just, I mean, know how police people and it's based on whatever instruction they get? Yeah,
sometimes I feel like when government, like the high-ranking government officials give this statement, it seems like all the other stakeholders are afraid to speak up and say, Oga, we get that, but this, you may have forgotten because you're doing so many other things. So how do we address this? So I feel sometimes you're so afraid of Oga to bring his attention to something that he may have missed. But it's good that they have quickly rescinded that. And I just wanted to say that we cannot deny the fact that our police force, when we meet them one-on-one, not everyone is... what's the right way to say?
Don't use the word.
Not warm, but not everyone seems to be...
together.
Like informed, educated. Do you understand? So they will tell you, pass this road. But if you reach that road, there's a hill there. But there's a corner that you can go around. Police will say, until they say this road, even if there's water, you must pass that. Do you understand? There's like, oh, okay, we understand this is the directive, but this would be better or does not make sense now. It just does not seem like the police get that sometimes. And I would really like Frank Mba to tell us how this training is done. So,
not today. I
Just
like
speak to Frank Mba. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the police did not think this through. You know, like when you want to, we're all trying to fight COVID-19. Everybody should stay indoors. And you're not considering that there could be exceptions. You didn't pay attention.
The government was very clear.
I know.
Yes.
I said the police. That's why I'm saying the police. They didn't think it through. Because aside from the essential services, we have people who could be in labor in the middle of the night and they need to go out. We have people who, my son had a health situation recently, and I could have rushed out to the hospital, and then you stop me because there is a directive that there is no, so I believe they didn't think it through. And when people started calling and no, you can't have this, these are really essential, these need to go out, they had to rescind. So instead of rushing to just say something as an Oga or a boss, this is how we want to fight this, take cognizance of all the factors, all the people that are affected, so that you can have an informed decision when you present it. It makes sense. We can't be going back and forth. I said this, he said that, I rescinded. And
I think we have Frank Mba back. Mayoga, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You locked me down.
You're locked down.
Yeah.
So,
you locked me down, actually.
So, sorry about that. So could you confirm indeed if this law has been rescinded, that certain classes of people should be exempted from the curfew?
I think sometimes we expect this kind of conversations. They are all part of the beauty of a very strong and virile democracy. So there's nothing out of the ordinary when you have healthy conversations and discussions of this nature. I don't know whether you're on my mailing list, but if you're on my mailing list, I had a press release yesterday where I conveyed the outcome of the visual meeting that the Inspector General of Police had with the Commissioners of Police and the zonal AIGs. And the instruction was simple: ensure strict enforcement of the restriction of movement order as well as the curfews. But much more later in the evening, we had a lot of calls, and then I had to come out again to issue another statement, putting pay to all kinds of speculations. And that statement was issued just to make very clear make the position of the Inspector General of Police very, very clear and unequivocal. And our position is simple: we will ensure strict enforcement of the restrictions of movement, the interstate restrictions, and then the national curfews that start usually 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on daily basis until they are recited by the authorities, by the presidential directive. And we also stated clearly that in doing so, certain individuals, those on essential duties, including medical personnel, ambulance services, firefighters, security personnel, journalists, and all others that are on essential duties. I'm sure if I did mention journalists, I'll come under the hammers. So journalists are included, and all these persons who are categorized as persons on essential duties are allowed to move around. We also appeal that you should do so in the course of your duty. Make sure you have your identification, cards or cards or anything that will help to identify you when you approach the checkpoint or when you approach the policeman or other security.
Okay, because of time, let me just throw a few more questions for you.
Sir, so are you saying that there was a miscommunication from the top? Because this explanation now was more like you saying that you people just try to, make them enforce the curfew, but you did not flout the presidential directive. So was there are you saying there was a miscommunication that probably they did not understand exactly what you were trying to say?
Or a misinterpretation
Or a misinterpretation of what the IGP was trying to say?
I could forward you the initial press release that I did, and that press release was very, very explicit.
Okay.
Strict enforcement of the curfew. Strict enforcement of the interstate lockdown, strict enforcement of the restriction orders. We needed to make that clarification because as it is, in the course of performing duties, you could have a bit of this kind of situations. And once they arise, that's what leadership is all about. That's what management is all about. In your offices, I know you have editorial team. You have, after a journalist has written a story, there is a line editor, there is a feature editor, and there are all kinds of editors who look at the story and make sure they cross the I's and dot the They cross the T's and dot the I's.
We have to let you go because we're going to bring you back at some point because we're very concerned about also the interstate issues. People are complaining about people coming in from the north. So, but unfortunately, we have to wrap up with you. But thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Frank Mba, this morning.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for locking me down.
The lockdown has been lifted.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Okay, so we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we'll discuss how to enhance teaching and learning at home, especially now that parents are having to do the teaching by themselves. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.